Morning, Victors. So one of the best things I've learned this year, 2020, was what it is to be authentic. Okay? Because I used to have this misunderstanding that being authentic had to do with what other people thought of me. And they got to determine if I was authentic or not. But no, that's not what being authentic is. Being authentic is living my life unapologetically. There you go. There it is. Living my life unapologetically. But at the same time, being accountable for everything that I've decided. For every decision I've made, I am accountable for it. All right? It's up to me to determine if I'm authentic or not. I don't make any decisions to undercut anyone, to hurt anyone, to badmouth or to hurt anyone. No, I make the best decisions to bring myself up, to help my family, to put us first. A huge mistake that I made was I would always put other people before me when I really wasn't in position to do so. Example, lending money. There were times where I didn't have money to lend, and yet I'm lending it and hoping that they pay me back so I can make sure I get my rent paid. No, that is not okay. No, I needed to pay my rent, and it's okay for me to say no because I am making the best decision for my family. That is living authentic. Some people can consider it selfish. It ain't selfish because you put yourself first. You're supposed to put yourself first. It's unauthentic to yourself to put yourself anything besides first. And the reality is this: authentic ain't easy, but it's definitely worth it. Morning, Victors. So going through the journey, another amazing thing I found out was the difference between lowering my standards and compromise. Okay? Somehow these two have gotten meshed together when in all reality, they're two different subjects. All right? I'm going to give an example of a compromise really quick, because a compromise is two-sided. All right? For the example, I'm going to say I go to the gym for 7 days a week, and my lady wants me to spend more time with her. So she's asking if I can go to the gym 4 days a week instead of 7 and spend the other 3 with her. All right? And I agree to that. That is a compromise. All right? Two people, agreement. Okay? Lowering your standard is one-sided. And what it is that person not being able to meet and get to your happy and make you happy. So you lower your standards in order to make them fit into your life. Okay? I've been so guilty of this in my relationships, in my friendships, and in my career. And I'm going to give examples of those. In my relationships. So when I was in my early 20s, one of the biggest things that I didn't want to do was date someone with a kid. Okay? Real quick before I get into this, just because you have your standards does not mean that person is below you. That doesn't mean that they don't have anything to bring to the table. All it means is in order for Vince to be peak Vince and to be happy, that's important to me. All right. So here was my standards. She had a kid. It wasn't something that I was really interested in, not because a kid is a bad thing, but because I liked being free. And there was a lot of responsibility that went into a kid when that's not what I was looking for. Okay, so in order to make that relationship even have a chance, I had to lower my standards to make her fit into that situation. And yeah, there were some cool times, but all in all, I was unhappy in the relationship. All right, so think about how many, you got to find one, you need to figure out what's important to you. Okay, because the compromise, you can't, not compromise, but you can't lower your standards to things that are important to you. And at the time, that was very important to me. So, of course, it was never going to work out. All right. Friendship-wise, listen, loyalty is a big deal to me. I'm not going to be around people that don't got my back and at least can't say what they got to say to my face. Here's the standard. If I hear people talking stuff, or I'm not going to lower myself to accept the fact that they're talking behind my back. No, I just don't have to hang out with you. Here's the standard bar. They don't meet it. They don't kick it. It's just that simple. Career-wise, now I do want to also say everyone's standards are different. And so taking advice from other people is cool to get perspective, but you can't live at someone else's standards, because what's important to me might not be important to you. And so when they're telling you their standards and what is important to them, it might not matter as much to you. So it's really important to really understand that as well. For this last example, career-wise, it was funny. I went to lunch with a friend and I was telling him, listen, got offered a job for $25 an hour. I thought I was winning. I was all excited. And then later that day, I actually went and played basketball with some new friends, and they were actually talking about switching positions at their job. And one of the guys mentioned that he can't even stomach or step into a place for less than $200K a year. And one, it was mind blowing, because I'm like, dude, I really have the ability to do this. But my big point was, that was his standard. He wouldn't even step into a company without less than or more than $200K a year. And so it's important. My big point is, you got to have your standards. And we don't need to lower them for anyone, man. We don't need to lower them to let people fit in. That doesn't mean those people are bad. That doesn't mean that they don't have anything good to bring to the table. That just means they're not good for you. And the last thing I want to get to really quick, because I keep saying bringing things to the table, and I see this a lot on Facebook where people talk a lot about what do people have to offer and bring to the table. The one great thing that I've always had is I never really cared what people brought to the table, because I had my definites that people were gonna bring. You either bring these things or you don't even have a chance anyways. But you need to take the time and figure out what it is. You know, for myself, I gotta have fun. Fun is very important. I need someone that's not super judgmental. So when things go bad, I don't need to be criticized. Like, those are things that are important to me. You figure out what's important to you and know that's your standard bar. That's part of your standards. So that's my spell for today. Morning, Victors. So in sports, there's a saying that the best ability is availability, which means as long as you're not being hurt, or in college, you need to stay eligible in order to play. You know, you can't play in the game if you're not available, okay? The same thing applies to us in life. The best ability that we can have is availability, but it's a little different. The availability is the availability to learn, okay? There are so many know-it-alls, and I was one of them. I was so guilty of this, and that's why I was stuck in the same spot for so long. It's because I was a know-it-all, man. We need to, at least for myself, I was able to progress like light years once I started being available to learn, man, and stop knowing everything and stop thinking that that person doesn't know this or that person doesn't know that. Like, judging books by their covers, man, that got me nowhere. It got me to where I was at the time. By being open and being available to people, and even if I don't necessarily agree with what they're saying, just by listening to them, I can take bits and pieces of what they're saying. And it's all of this stuff, all this information has helped me progress. So I really wanted to share that today. The best ability is availability. So, morning, Victors. So one of the best lessons I've learned in 2020 was that it's a risk to not take a risk. All right. I'm going to explain that a little more. So I got a lot of new followers now. So what a lot of you don't know is when the pandemic hit in March, I actually left my job. I had outgrown it. And, you know, I didn't claim unemployment. I didn't ask for money. I went and I started selling my task books. That's when I actually created my task books, was during that time. And then I started selling those, and eventually I ended up finding a new gig, it's cool. But I took a risk to better my life, and it was no resentment. I wasn't in a bad place. It was just, I just outgrown it, and it was time. It was time for me to take a risk and to do something else. And what I wanted to get at is, we don't necessarily have to be in a bad place to take a risk. I felt like when I was younger, a lot of my risks were because I was at the end of the road, or end of that road. And I mean, like, on both ends, like it was going to get bad. So I had to leave, which really wasn't that much of a risk. It was just something that needed to be done. But now I'm like, I'm excited to take a risk, and I'm excited to change my life. And a lot of the risk and the shots that I take are in parts of my life that I want to improve. I'm not saying risk and take a chance on everything, because there are some parts of your life that are great. But the parts of my life that I want to improve, I'm going to risk it, and I'm going to take my shot, and you should do the same. So, morning, Victors. So another great lesson I've learned this year was, in order for me to do better, I had to feel better. I had to feel better mentally. I had to feel better emotionally. And so what went into that was, I'm going to give you a couple examples, was one, eliminating negativity. Okay. So at my last job, we would have these long breaks, and we would sit in the break room and kind of have almost a gossip session. And it was crazy because I did this for years, and I was unaware of how negative this actual session was until I started actually working on myself. And then I kind of became conscious of it. And I'm like, this isn't what I wanted to be around. And so I started sitting in my car. And as I got away from this negativity, it's like my head cleared. And so eliminating negativity is crucial if you want to feel better. It's the truth, whether it's from a spouse, in a relationship, friendship, even at your jobs, one way or the other, eliminating negativity is a crucial way of feeling. It'll help you feel better, okay? Another thing that helped me feel better was working out. Consistently working out. There's nothing better than feeling, at least for myself, because it's my physical look actually really matters to me. And so because I get self-conscious about it. So if I'm not physically in shape, I don't feel like Vince. I don't feel alive like I should. So for me, I have to be that person. Another thing that helps me feel better is reading, man. I didn't realize how much I enjoyed reading. But these are things for Vince Keaton that make him feel better, that make him go do better. What makes you feel better? And you need, and you can have these tools, because when you start getting in the drought, you can always go back to this and use these tools to have you feeling better, and then they'll help you do better. So that's my spill for today. Morning, Victors. So one of the biggest wastes of time that I've come to the conclusion of this year was being halfway in, halfway out. All right. What I mean by that is not fully committing. That's just another way of saying not fully committing. All right. It has been for years one of my biggest flaws, and it just gets you nowhere. Listen, for myself, whether it's been fitness, whether it's been relationships, whether it's been career-wise, not being fully committed to what I'm doing, it literally just eats at me. All right. And what I mean by that is, so in my relationship, say I'm dating someone that I shouldn't be with, or I know that it won't work out. By trying to stay with them, making it feel like I'm doing them a service, it doesn't do me any good, because every time I want to leave, I feel bad, but then when I'm staying, I feel stuck. It doesn't make sense. Listen, if it doesn't work out for you, it doesn't work out. Then just go. And not only will you be doing yourself a service, you're actually doing them a service, because at least they're not committing to you and wasting their time, right? Also in the career, I was so bad at my last job years ago, where, listen, I'd work hard, and then when I would get mad, I'd almost just disappear. I would have days where I would just disappear. And then I'm wondering why I'm not getting a promotion. Then I'm wondering why I'm not getting the raises, because I didn't commit. I wasn't doing what I needed to do consistently. I was there some days. I wasn't there other days. I'm halfway in, halfway out. How are they going to promote me? That's going to put them in a bad spot. All right. And the last example is my fitness. Listen, I struggle. I'm struggling. There are days where I go and I kill it at the gym, but then I go and I eat all crappy. It don't make sense. It's being halfway in, halfway out. But I'll give you the example of committing is with Inspired Living. Like, I am committed to it. And it's so cool to have the feeling of no matter what goes on, I'm with this. I'm riding this out. Listen, I'm going towards this. I'm doing a lot of learning. So maybe my riding is smooth and it ain't going as fast as I would like it, but I'm in this vehicle and I am going with it. And I am telling you, as someone who has been halfway in, halfway out a lot of his life, it ain't worth it. You're better off committing, hopping in that car and going all the way. So that's my spill for the day. Thank those of you that bought your 30 Days to Inspire Living task books. If you're looking to create action, hit the link above me and let's get going. Today is Fantasy Friday, so make sure to put your fantasies in the Inspire Living timeline. We're going to stop saying no to our dreams and start saying yes, yes, yes to our dreams. I got kids, so you know I'm tired, but I'll be here tomorrow to help us live inspired.